Guys, I just drove 18 hours to visit my parents in Maryland from Kansas. Via dog, it's my mom's puppy. But either way, the Memphis Grizzlies exceeded expectations to finish this season. John Morant had an all NBA season, and he claimed his position as one of the best point guards in the league, but not just that, one of the best players in the league. They have a great core behind the all defensive team member, Jaren Jackson Jr., or at least he should be a team member. And then they also had an Desmond Bane is arguably one of the most underrated scorers slash shooters in the league, and he's not bad at defense. He's arguably a top 10, maybe even top 5 shooter in the league. I want to hear your thoughts down below. Like and subscribe, but Taylor Jenkins is building something here, and the Grizzlies will continue to focus on internal improvement and could make a significant addition this offseason. But right now, they have a limited window to utilize cap space to pursue a top free agent this season on a cheap, short-term deal or a long one if they intend to move somebody that we'll talk about later. Let's hear it. I want to hear your thoughts down below. Like and subscribe. What do you guys think? Sorry, I have my retainers in. Either way, John Morant's going to probably sign that 5-year, $185.7 million deal. And he can actually get a 5-year, $222.9 million if he gets an All-NBA and then an All-NBA again next year. But look, Dillon Brooks, Steven Adams, DeAnthony Milton, Brandon Clark, Xavier Tillman, and John Conchar are all players who will become extension eligible this offseason. Okay? And look, the Grizzlies are entering the 2022 offseason with 14 players, including 2 upcoming first-round picks, are on the roster. And they're in a position to have significant cap space in either this upcoming offseason or the next. As of now, they're projected to generate $20 million in cap space, which isn't quite enough by today's standard to operate as an under the cap team unless they reduce their payroll significantly by unloading Steven Adams' contract, or we could talk about later, maybe even Dillon Brooks. And look, they have a $10.3 million mid-level exception and a biannual exception of $4 million and $4 million trade exception. This will allow them to hopefully re-sign Tyus Jones and Kyle Anderson. Mother walks into the room. Either way, Tyus Jones and Kyle Anderson could be re-signed as their 2 top free agents in this free agency class, which is considered weak and could encourage the Grizzlies to operate as an over-the-cap team for maybe a season. And they could bring in, maybe give Tyus Jones 6.3 and give Kyle Anderson 4. But at the same time, I think Tyus Jones is going to get paid. Now, Desmond Bane definitely is the man. I really like this team, but they should explore the trade market, okay? And why do I say that? Because, look, this game, man, look, it's John Morant's extension is the first thing they need to do. But Jaren Jackson's deal will kick in next season. And what Memphis needs to determine is if it feels like it needs to take a big swing at a possible upgrade at the wing position, maybe trading Dillon Brooks and Steven Adams together for a guy on a $30+ million contract who might only have a year or 2 left. And we already saw, the reason I say this is we kind of already saw the Grizzlies draft Dillon Brooks' replacement, Zaire Williams, with the 10th overall pick, and he's the long-term solution. So can the Grizzlies find a short-term option before, they have to pay, not really pay, but before Jackson's getting paid, Morant's getting paid, and Desmond Bane's getting paid? And I think Zaire Williams can step in, and if he has another guy that they trade Dillon Brooks for, maybe a multitude of guys or just one guy, I think Zaire Williams can take the bigger role if he puts on muscle. And I like Dillon Brooks, okay? But the thing is this is a guy, John Morant's an All-NBA, All-Star, most improved player. Jaren Jackson Jr., defensive stud. I know his offense can be inefficient at times, but Dillon Brooks, as much as I like how he set this culture and he plays the bully ball and he tries to be a dog, he can be a bit inefficient and a detriment to the team, that because he gets so emotionally caught up in the game. And that's why, look, even though Zaire Williams is still young, it seems like a good possibility that Grizzlies will look to trade Brooks. And it's clearly that Bane is at the wing spot and Zaire Williams could fill that other spot. And look, Brooks is eligible for a 4-year, $61.3 million. And Memphis has a history of trading role players ahead of a contract year, such as Jonas Valanciunas and Grayson Allen, despite their contributions in the playoffs or playing, the season going into the offseason. And with the core of Morant, Jackson Jr., Bane, and Williams set, the starting center position seems to be the position that you could argue they could upgrade the most. And obviously the Rudy Gobert ideas are out there, but I really like the idea of pairing, Jaren Jackson Jr. with a guy along the lines of a Miles Turner or Jokic Poeltl. Jokic Poeltl's not going. If they trade Jokic Poeltl, it's for DeAndre Ayton or maybe Rudy Gobert. They're not going to trade Jokic Poeltl for Steven Adams. I can tell you that. Now they still have, the Pat Bev and Juancho Hernan-Gomez trade exceptions to include with the Grayson Allen $4 million exception. So they have 3 trade exceptions, and then, like I said, the 10.3 mid-level exception and the 4.3 biannual exception. So I would not be surprised. I think everybody will come back except Steven Adams and Dillon Brooks are the 2 guys that we could potentially see them trade. Now, in the NBA draft, if you guys have been waiting for that, this NBA draft is interesting. Right now, I have the Grizzlies sitting tight, okay, at the 22nd spot and the 29th. I'll have my full mock draft at the lottery tomorrow, and I'll do the first 5 picks on who I'll predict tomorrow. But right now, I have them at 22 drafting Kendall Brown, because I think Kendall Brown could replace Kyle Anderson. And if they want to draft Kyle Anderson 2.0, they'll draft Harrison Ingram at the 29th spot. And then instead of drafting Kendall Brown at the 22nd, maybe they draft a guy like Blake Weasley. Also, people are saying I'm saying Blake Weasley wrong. How do you say his name correctly if it's not Blake Weasley? Please tell me. Is it Wesley? Okay. Now, look, at the 29th spot, if they take Kendall Brown at 22, I have them at 29 taking Kennedy Chandler from Tennessee. I really do like Kennedy Chandler, and he's a defensive guy. Kind of reminds me a bit of an Eric Bledsoe type player, and I think he could be a really good backup point guard for them if Tyus Jones does leave. And I think John Conchar is a guy who can step up and get extended and play well. Look, another guy, I have said Santi Aldama will be the steal of the draft, and I will stick by that. I know he barely played for the Grizzlies this past season. Barely. He was basically the G League guy, okay? I'm well aware. I am well aware, but I will still stand here, all right, and say I am a believer in Santi Aldama becoming the best European big man that we've seen in a while, okay? I will stand by that. I'll fall on that, okay? Now, so this is a team that I do think when we watch them, what do they need? What do they need? I think center and just some depth, okay? We're like, obviously, I always use this example, Chris Middleton. Also, Santi Aldama averaged 50% from the field, 27% from 3, while averaging 22.6 points, 1.5 blocks, 1.5 steals, 9.5 rebounds on 22 points a night while playing 30 minutes a night for the G League. Pretty good. So, give you an idea. I like, Xavier Tillman. It's crazy that they have Tyrell Terry, but Xavier Tillman I like, and I think, look, I've seen, Jalen Williams and Ryan Rollins as guys going to the Grizzlies, but I really look at this and I think in free agency, they could make a splash if they trade away any of the big contracts that they deem, unnecessary. So I want to hear your thoughts down below if you guys agree.